I now call upon Mr. Vincenzo Aquaro of the Format Servizi SPA.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The UNDP report on governance, as well as the Brussels Programme of Action, underlines the necessity for good governance at both the national and international levels, specifically through transparent, accountable and efficient institutions and practice within the government, the private sector and civil society. Information and communication technologies today is seen not only as a tool, but probably the most important tool if this commitment has to be realized. While we agree that ICT applications play an important role in the implementation of sustainable MDG-based strategies, we know that inadequacy of financial support is a key impediment to strengthening governance. Most developing countries have successfully developed e-government applications in key areas such as justice, security, healthcare, welfare, transportation, education. These applications are used in those countries as powerful tools to create public administration that embodies the core values of democratic governance, including transparency, accountability, etc. Most of these applications already in use in developed countries could be easily duplicated and put in use in poor countries at a fraction of the initial development cost to support their local innovation and technological development. In the spirit of encouraging North-South cooperation, the developed countries owning such e-governance application can make available their new software to the poor countries for free. I must emphasize here that sharing best practice and ICT knowledge transfer needs a permanent exchange framework among all the stakeholders. I recommend, firstly, the donors country at international level have to offer for free their best e-government software investment to the less developing countries. At the national level, the donors have to encourage local software use, open source technologies and multi-language software interfaces in their ICT development. Secondly, poor countries have to create an enabling environment to facilitate the knowledge transfer, ensure compatibility and sustainability with regard to infrastructure, local industry and human capital. Thirdly, I would like to emphasize the vital role that the United Nations can play in facilitating the creation of this framework. The United Nations must support and facilitate effective partnership for ICT knowledge transfer between member states and all stakeholders, encouraging North-South and South-South cooperation towards e-government software reuse initiatives. The United Nations must support the creation and the upgrading of an inventory of such e-government applications that can be shared. The United Nations must provide legal and technical support for the local deployment of such applications. The United Nations must support negotiation towards significant reduction of the cost of software license and copyright issues for the poor countries that wish to implement e-government applications. The United Nations must oversee the legal and bilateral terms of the technology transfer. To conclude, I would like to say that the United Nations must urge donor countries to consider the application software use initiative as an alternative way of looking at building capacity of the state toward effective utilization of official development assistance. With this, I would like to thank all of you. Thank you.
Je remercie Monsieur Vincenzo.
I thank Mr. Vincenzo Aquaro of the Format Servizi SPA. That is the last presentation.